Hey, it's Bon. Let's talk about the Division 2 a little bit, and I'll give some of my takes on what's going on. I've seen there's a bunch of people today doing their best dad impression, talking about how disappointed and talking very sternly about the game and stuff like that. It's not really what I'm here to do. I never really have been. I've always found that way of doing things kind of pretentious and kind of clickbaity. So instead, I'm going to kind of summarize where I feel like things are and kind of where I think they're going, as we've seen. Yeah. So a few weeks ago, we had Title Update 15 come out for the Division 2. It was the first big update they'd given us essentially in 2 years. If you consider the seasons 1 through 4 to be big updates, then I guess it's been a year. I feel like that content was essentially done at the same time as Warlords of New York. And, I'm sure it was patched up a little bit for release. But anyways, we went on, I believe, a 2-year drought of content. And then a few weeks ago, we got our first big release of new content after it had been delayed multiple times, including other events that had been delayed as well. And that's not even to mention things like the summit that were delayed and then released in shoddy shape. Things like Kinley College was supposed to have this big Resident Evil event, which one way or the other we have or haven't heard was supposed to be a zombie mode for Resident Evil, and it was probably gonna be pretty cool and has probably ruined the relationship between Capcom and Ubisoft. So then Title Update 15 did come out finally after delays. It has a new mode called Countdown. We've talked about this. If you're listening to this video, you know this stuff, right? Countdown is neat, but maybe not the big revolutionary bit of content that a lot of people were expecting after 2 years. The new season was new and different, but still kind of the same, and but is fine. Is telling some story content that is interesting and things like that. We do have some new gear. We have some new weapons and stuff like that. But there's been issues, right? So there's been issues with the proficiency system and those bonuses, and just in the last couple of days, we had a pretty big change where a lot of people were essentially abusing or exploiting the system, and that was reversed, and people are mad about that. At the same time, that exact system is being kind of downplayed because even when you max stuff out, it doesn't really change anything. It's not really that effective. It doesn't do much. It's kind of just a little bit of an empty grind, at least in some people's opinions. And then all of that kind of culminated to today, Thursday, while I'm recording this, when the long-awaited and multiple time delayed apparel event was supposed to drop, the first one in a really long time. And the time came and it didn't do it. And then they put out a tweet like, we don't know, it's not working, and we're going to have to indefinitely delay it. I am always pretty happy to call out when I think people are being ridiculous, when people are being clickbaity and sensational. People are doing it even now, even today, I'm sure. I actually do my best to avoid Division 2 creators and videos for the most part these days. And so I have mixed feelings on it. It is frustrating. It is annoying. I want to get back into the game, and even this stuff does dissuade me a bit, right? The problem is that as frustrating as it is, as annoying as it is, as disheartening as it is, it makes it harder to be mad every time I see some person or some creator make it personal and go after the devs and say nasty things to individuals and things like that. This isn't happening because of one person. My theory, honestly, was that their team just isn't big enough or experienced enough to do this stuff. Yannick, who's one of the people leading the game at this point, kind of pushed back on that and basically said, like, our team can handle this, but did say, that it's been a long time since they've released this content. There's a lot of things that were set in place when they had a full team 2+ years ago that aren't there now because those people have left, and those automations and things are not there anymore, so they have to, kind of start from scratch. And it's interesting. Like, I think it's totally fair to be really frustrated with the game, to be really frustrated with these things that are happening, the bugs, the mistakes, the issues. I'm highly frustrated by things like even things as simple as the guns they put into this new patch still aren't fixed, and came out and they're completely jacked up. Like, their models are really bad. The G9 LMG, it just doesn't have a magazine, and its texture is completely off, and it looks awful, and none of the attachments attached to the right point, not even counting the magazine that doesn't exist. And then this bullpup AK that they have in is kind of ugly, and none of the attachments fit on it correctly. And it's one of the named weapons that goes really well with the Heartbreaker set, and it looks awful to use. So if you don't care about the aesthetics, then you use it and it's fine. But I care. I care about that. And so it's stuff like it's not any one thing that kind of adds up to be so frustrating, right? It's how long we waited for content. It's the little mistakes, it's the big mistakes, and they add up. And at the end of the day, I have no doubt in my mind that Yannick and Pele and all these other people who are involved in the game and working on it are just as frustrated, if not more so, because this reflects directly on them, right? This is on them. This is their jobs. This stuff going bad isn't just an annoying game thing for them. This is like an annoying career thing for them. And so that doesn't make anyone feel any better, but it at least, helps you realize that, like, this is a big deal to them too. And the simple fact is, this stuff can't be fixed overnight. And I think that it's perfectly fair for them to be kind of taking their lumps right now, not as individuals. People shouldn't be tagging or adding Yannick and specific people. That's stupid. But if you want to tag the Division game and give that poor social media manager your feedback, that's fair to a point. It's just, I think what worries me the most about it is what it means for the rest of this season, because there is, I think it's fine to have the sentiment of like, wow, so this, the first Manhunt Lieutenant and now the second one, this has been kind of rough, and this is what they had delays for. Like this was supposed to come out back in the winter of last year, and then they got like 5-6 more months to work on it. And so now we're seeing that even after all that time, you would have kind of assumed like the first Manhunt and all the stuff that came along with it would have been like okay, because that's what they worked on. And then maybe you would see issues as we hit the second Manhunt, the third Manhunt, and then the final target eventually, right? But instead we're seeing these issues like right off the bat, and it makes the rest of this season 9 a little worrying, and year 4 entirely, right? Because they're Yannick kind of said it without saying it, that they need people to play this season and be into it and this year of content to get a year 5. And this isn't the best start, and if things kind of stay like this, I fear that participation is going to drop, which is reasonable. Not everyone cares about learning about the hunters enough to deal with all of these issues, and we won't get a year 5. And I think that there are silver linings to that. I don't want it to mean anyone, like, I want people to keep their jobs and do all that stuff for sure. But we may come to a point where we realize, like, okay, maybe it's okay if the Division 2 is done, and we maybe move on to the whatever's next, whether it's like a new IP through Massive, or if they start working on Division 3 or whatever. I don't know. I won't get into that now, but these issues, you can see them as growing pains, you can see them as experience, things like that, which I'm sure they are. I do fear though that this probably isn't great. Like if you're expecting more new modes in year 4, if we were expecting big new updates and any kind of significant content in year 4, I mean, this does kind of make you worry that that's probably not likely, right? Because if they're struggling to get an apparel event out, then we probably aren't getting any new modes. We probably aren't getting, at least not timely. So I always preach patience and treating people with dignity and respect, and that doesn't change. Obviously, be nice. It's games. If you don't like it, the biggest thing you can do, like what Yannick said about year 4 needing to be a success, if you are upset about what's going on, speak with your time. Don't play Division 2. Don't participate. Stop playing. And that's probably your most powerful form of communication. And then come back when they fix it, if they fix it. So, don't threaten people, don't belittle, and don't be awful. Don't give views to the creators who are, profiting off of this and, making a big deal out of it. It's not that big of a deal, it's just a game. But vote with your time is what I would suggest. I don't really know why I made this video. I just felt like getting some of that off my chest. It's just kind of a bummer. And I'm sure it is for everyone involved, including the people making it. So I suspect brighter times are coming, but it may not get better before it gets worse. So we'll have to wait and see. That said, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, check out my podcast, The EchoCast, here on YouTube and on all podcast providers. You can check out my stream over at twitch.tv/BonDiesel. And right now I am giving away a Mass Effect N7 1-to-1 full-scale wearable helmet. And you can find the link to enter into that on my Twitter over at @BonDiesel or at The EchoCast. That's all I have this time, so until next time.